Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Well, I took a small break, but I'm finally back. And it's December, my favorite month of the year. I don't know, something about wintertime and Christmas I just love. I've always loved Christmas. Even though I didn't get a bunch of things when I was a kid, it was my favorite time of the year. And something about remembering when you were young, you never knew when Christmas was really coming. I mean, you knew it was in December, but I never kept up with what day it was when I was a kid. But one way I knew that it was December is when you're driving in the car with your dad or your mom and they're changing the stations on the radio. And all of a sudden, you hear Christmas music. And it always clicked with me like Christmas time awaits. And you see people putting up lights or things like that. So it really got me in the mood. And it reminded me of a thought that I had, and I thought I'd make a video about it. Do you ever just hear a sound, kind of like the old Christmas music, to where it just takes you back to when you were a kid and you remember it instantly? Like you remember the first time you've heard it. It's ingrained in your brain, and you remember everything about it. So I thought, why not make a video about iconic songs, stage themes, or just iconic sounds in general from old retro video games that you never forget, and when you hear them, you know exactly where you were in the first time you heard them. And that's what I want to talk about on today's episode. Roll that intro. So the first game I want to talk about is Stage 1 of Streets of Rage. I'll never forget it. My uncle picked this up the day it came out. He got his Genesis also, and he picked up two games, Hard Driving and Streets of Rage. And just the intro alone to this game is iconic. But the first level, I remember the first time we played it. He played as Adam and I played as Axel. And I just remember the first stage. As soon as your game starts, the wind's blowing in the dark, gritty city streets, and there we are standing, Axel and Adam. Man, such an iconic game, and such an iconic level theme. I don't know, something about it I'll just never forget. It blew our minds, and it's sad that I haven't talked about this on the channel yet, but this has got to be one of my favorite, if not my favorite, beat 'em up of all time. For the time, something about it just clicked with us. Eventually, we would play other beat 'em ups like Streets of Rage 2 and 3. But Streets of Rage, that's our favorite. I know a lot of people that like Streets of Rage 2, but I didn't really like the characters a whole lot. I didn't like Skate. I don't know, I just didn't like it. We always played this one. Even when 2 came out, we did play it, but not near as much as this. So the first level of Streets of Rage, man, I remember turning it on at his house, and we were just sitting there in awe on that little bitty TV we played on. Man, it's just something about it I'll never forget. Mashing the buttons, doing the 2-player co-op moves, suplexing everybody into the concrete. Man, just something about this game just takes me back. So yeah, Streets of Rage for the Sega Genesis. The next game I want to talk about, man, this game is iconic to say the least. And I'll never forget the first time that me and my uncle seen it. There was a place called Video Game Headquarters. It was like a little shop right smack dab in one of the busiest streets in our town. And we just had to go there to check it out. I just remember seeing the white sign, Video Game Headquarters. I only remember one thing that was in there. Streets of Rage. Street Fighter 2 for the Super Nintendo. And here's a weird thing. He had a Super Nintendo, but the game in it, it didn't look like it. It was a weird looking cartridge. And at the time, we had no idea. We were just blown away by what we were seeing. And it had not came out yet in the States. So what he was playing was a Super Famicom version. But what they did was they tore the pins off on the cartridge slot of your Super Nintendo, and you could play Famicom games on it. So they had figured that out, and they had imported this game over. And man, I had so many questions. But the guy was like, hey, it's not out yet. It's coming out. Do you want us to set one back? Like, we didn't have $70 for this. But I just remember seeing that stage theme of Blanca's stage. Man, I'll never forget it. As I was looking at it, it was just blowing us away on how fast it was. It was so fast. Now, if you go back and play this, Street Fighter 2 Turbo is way faster than this. But, man, the arcade version was out at the time in the States. But the Super Nintendo version hadn't even come close to coming out. And this dude, had a copy of the Famicom version. So, like, we were so hyped when it said on the billboard that it was coming soon. And, man, I just will never forget that stage theme of Blanca when he was fighting against Ken. And it's just, man, it just takes me back. It gives me chills almost, because it's like, how do I remember something so insignificant to most people? But to me, I'll never forget it. It's like an iconic moment. Like, some people remember, like, I don't know, when they graduate high school or things like that. It's like, well, I remember the first time I ever seen Street Fighter 2. It's like, we played this game so much when it came out. I can't explain how much we played this game, but man, 16 megs, like, it just blew us away. Super Nintendo had a hit on their hands with this, and they knew it. This game sold incredibly well, and this one only came out for the Super. So basically, the Super Nintendo was killing it because you had to have an SNES to play this, and that really hurt the Genesis sales because everybody wanted to play this at home instead of on the arcades. So you had to get a Super Nintendo. So yeah, I'll never forget it, man. The first time, Street Fighter 2. Yeah, it's legendary. The next game I want to talk about, I'll never forget it. Me and my uncle was at the bowling alley, and we were taken there by my Aunt Rhonda. And I'll never forget it. So we walk in, and there's this game there, and it just the title screen alone, just the bezel. We saw it, and we was extremely hyped. And it's Double Dragon. Now, I don't have an arcade of Double Dragon, so I can't show that, but this is it. This is the NES version. And the only difference in the NES version, it's only one player, which is kind of lame. But on the arcade, it was 2-player. And I'll never forget it. And when we saw this, man, our minds were blown. 2-player co-op action, awesome graphics for the time. And the coolest thing is that you were fighting for your girlfriend. It was like, we were younger kids, but it was like we could just emphasize with that so much. Like, they beat your girlfriend's ass, and now that's what you're fighting for, to get her back. Like, what better reason to be kicking a bunch of dudes' asses in the streets? Like, so I just remember seeing this and playing it. And my uncle Marty, man, he got so mad at this game. So we're playing this game, and we only have a couple quarters, and this game was actually kind of hard, so they would kind of beat you up pretty good. The computer would. So, like, he lost all of his quarters, and man, he's just like screaming and cussing and just kicking the coin door and like yanking on the joystick. I just never forget it, man. Like, he was so upset because we couldn't play it more because it was so addicting. And I don't know, I'll just never forget that. It was just something about Double Dragon when I first seen it. I'll never forget it. And just the beginning intro, like when they walk up and they just gut punch a girl and she's just like, ugh, and he like throws her over his shoulder and just takes her. Like, just imagine somebody doing that in real life to you now. Like, you're just like at lunch with your girl and some dude just walks up and he's like, poosh, and he just walks off. It's like, what are you gonna do, man? You gotta go get her. So it's like, I don't know, man. I could relate to it even back then. Like, such a cool game and such a cool intro. And it's just the music. So basically the Double Dragons, you know, game theme is just, it's iconic, man. It's one of the best soundtracks on the NES, this game. But man, just the stage one, you know, theme song is fantastic. The stage theme is fantastic. So yeah, Double Dragon. I remember like when we went back, we went home, and I remember my aunt saying like, we're never going there again. Because he's like cussing and just going crazy. But yeah, Double Dragon, man. I'll never forget it. So the next game I'd like to talk about, man, I remember seeing this, and I think everybody had a similar experience to this game. Back in the late 80s, especially the early 90s, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was everywhere. They had toys, clothes, cartoons, cereal, but man, they changed the game when the Nintendo Entertainment System released Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Everybody had this game. That's how it was weird. It was like whenever you went to somebody's house, they had a copy of TMNT. And I'll never forget the first time that I had seen this game, because I was a huge Turtle fan myself. And my dad had a buddy named Max. And Max, for some reason, man, these dudes were like, when I was like 8, these guys were like 35. So, you know, they were around my age, 35 to 40, when I was like 8. And for some reason, they had a Nintendo with like 50 games. It just blew my mind at how many games they had. It's like they almost got every game that was out at the time in my mind. But I would dig through their games and just, you know, play whatever I could. And I remember one time I was digging through and I pulled out TMNT. And man, such an iconic game. I just remember looking at the front of the cartridge. I was blown away. And a lot of people kind of give this game a lot of criticism. And they're not very fond of it compared to, you know, Turtles 2, the arcade game. But I like this one. I know there's a lot of hate for it, but man, just something about it. I loved the way the turtles looked, and I was into the turtles, so like I just liked this game. But I just remember everybody had this game. But as soon as that incident happened, I would go to my friends or go to families, and everybody had a copy of this. Like, it's crazy. And it's because Ninja Turtles was everywhere. And a little known fact, this game actually sold 4 million copies, which was insane for back then. Only first party stuff like Mario and Zelda sold that many copies. So like, it's very impressive for a third party game like this. I don't know, man, something about it. And just a cool front cover. I remember I had a poster of this and it was all tore up, but I still kept it on the wall even though it was like falling apart. And I just remember the theme song when this game starts. It's just iconic, man. It scrolls through and shows like, you know, Raphael with the sais and, you know, Leonardo with the katana, and that song is like ding 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 ding. I don't know, it's just, I'll never forget it. I could hear it at a mall and I would just be like, I would know what that is if it came over the loudspeaker. Like, it's just, I'll never forget that theme song. So yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, man, iconic. Well, I want to talk about one more game. And I don't even know how to start talking about this game. I'm so giddy when I hear about it or when somebody talks about it, because I'm going to do one of two things. I'm going to agree with them, or I'm going to debate the shit out of them. Because this game is so good. I can't even put it into words hardly. But I'll never forget the first time I had seen it. Now, I did see it in a magazine. Here it is, issue 19 of Electronic Gaming Monthly. The first time I seen anything about Super Mario World. This is the Japanese version. So, November 1990, it was going to be available in Japan. Check that out. That's the first time I had seen it. But at the time, I had never seen video of it playing, like an actual demo or a game. And that game, man, it's a holy grail. It's one of the holy grails in my collection, actually. Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. This game, I don't even know how to start. I'll never forget seeing it. I went into Toys R Us. I went there quite often, but I never used to get anything. I would always just get to go randomly, but I would never get to buy anything. And I remember they had the displays up for the Super Nintendo coming soon signs and all these things lined up. And they had this huge kiosk. If I can find a picture, I'll insert it right now. But I just remember the stage 1 theme for this game. And man, is it great. I used to hear this game in my sleep. I just remember looking up, like this, because I couldn't play because there was somebody in front of me. And I was just like standing there looking at it. And the graphics just popped off of the screen, man. 16-bit technology, like, this game is so colorful. It's amazing, but just that theme song from the first stage, oh man, it gives me goosebumps. Like, it's so good that it's hard to be debated. And like I said earlier, I'm either going to agree with you or I'm going to debate you, because a lot of people debate if this or Mario 3 is the best Mario game ever. And in my opinion, it's not even close. I love Mario 3, but it does not hold a candle to this game. So many levels, so many iconic things was introduced in this game. The secrets are like abundant in this game, which is so cool because the replayability is insane. And another huge thing about this is it was a launch title. It came with the Super Nintendo included, not the box. This was like, if you got the Super Nintendo console where it was just the console bundle, you'd have to pick this up separately. That's why this box is so elusive to find now. But like, man, this game came included with it. It's arguably the best pack-in title to any system. And I mean that. The only thing I think that rivals it is probably the original Mario Brothers or Tetris for the Game Boy. Because this game, man, I don't know what else to say. That's all I'm going to say about it. Is the stage 1 theme of this. The first level. I'll never forget when I saw this on that big screen at Toys R Us in the early 90s. Man, it changed the game and it changed my life. Super Mario World. I'm going to go into a review of this someday, but I'm afraid to, because I'm afraid I can't do it justice. It's that good. It's like when I see this game and I look at the box, nothing but happy thoughts go through my head. It was so good, and I got a hilarious story about this game that I'll tell later on in another video. I'm going to do it on my storytime videos because it involves my uncle, man, and it's absolutely hilarious. So until then, Super Mario World, one of the best games ever created. Well, that's just a couple games that when I hear the theme songs or a stage level from them, it just takes me back to the first time I heard them. I'll never forget it. If you guys have any memories, leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, keep on reminiscing, baby.